it's not long.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Competition Archery Media Podcast, where we explore all things pertaining to competition archery. I'm your host, PJ Riley, and the CAM Podcast is brought to you by B3 Archery. Also sitting alongside me today is CAM Manager Josh Grine. And Josh, we are going to talk to ASA Senior Pro Shooter of the Year, Elite Pro Stephen Altizer. Stephen, thanks for being here.
Thank you, man. Thanks for inviting me to hang out with you guys for a little bit.
Has that sunk in yet? Because I was there at the last target, and I was telling Josh it was a scene of like total chaos as people were trying to do calculations, but you ended up as the Senior Pro Shooter of the Year. Has that sunk in?
Not really. Yeah, I mean, we've been running ever since it's been over with. No, not really. Long story short, just the tremendous amount of people that's congratulating me via text, call, all the calls. I don't know how many calls I've missed, but like I was telling you guys, we left there. You have the shoot off. Once you make the shoot off, everything goes so fast, and then it's over. It's like once the round starts on Friday, you shoot Friday, Saturday, midday. If you don't make it, 90% of people go home, but the ones who do make it hang out. And after that, it's over, So I went to the IBO the week after that and had to leave, I think, for Tuesday on that, and dabbled. I'd never done that before, played with that. But, everybody up there, congratulations. It was a lot of guys, shot with a bunch of guys that didn't even know. They knew who I was, but they had never, we never got to meet in person.
Yeah.
A lot of super nice people. But yeah, it's, a lot of people reaching out. It's never expected it one bit. If that's what I told Darren, I said, if you'd have walked up to me in Foley on the first target and said, here's $500, if you'll take that and you're not be eligible for Shoot of the Year, I'd have took it and ran. It wasn't even on my radar.
Well, let me interject there, because we had some conversation in indoor season. No, you just built a facility at the house. You said you were putting a lot of work in because of the move to senior and just the stage of life you were in. So you said there was no expectation, but you were working with an expectation. What was the difference between what you thought you could do by getting more intentional with practice and what played out?
Well, I was I always wanted an indoor range, always. And I don't know how that it even ended up. I was in Illinois deer hunting. You come in midday, you hunted that morning, you're sitting out there hanging out, and one of the guys I leased the property off of come out there, and then we were talking, and he had some bales of hay that was under a shed, and I said, man, we're just sitting there chit-chatting, talking about, hunting and stuff. And I said, I'd love to have something like that. And he's like, that's what I do. He said, I sell those barns, those buildings. And I'm like, not for my price range, you don't, and he's like, let me work you up a deal, and I said, I'd like to be in something around 10 grand. And so of course, he come back 99. Of course, I said, I was a car salesman. I was a car salesman for 13 years as well. So he says, but I can do this. So anyway, I done it. And I wanted it in by Lancaster. I wanted to be this was November. Really wasn't, I was excited about turning 50, and I wanted to shoot Lancaster. So I paid him a little extra money. We got this sucker up. I mean, it went flawlessly. And Logan and a bunch of his buddies, I just done a gravel floor, and then I took turf off of a football field and put artificial turf on the gravel floor. And so it's like carpet walking back and forth, because most of the events we go to that are indoors, a lot of them are carpet. You're
right.
Practicing. So I'm trying to think of every angle I can to get better. And so we build it. I'm starting to practice. I said, well, I need to call Lancaster and sign up. I'm shooting some better rounds than I've ever shot. And I called, and I actually spoke to Yoder, Steve Yoder, and he's like, dude, you can't shoot Lancaster until you're 50. And I said, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you don't, that's the rules. You can't shoot. You can shoot ASA before you're 50 if you turn 50, but you can't shoot Lancaster. So I was like, well, I got this build. No, what am I supposed to do with it? You know? So yeah, but yeah, I did. I shot a lot of spots, drove to a lot of different places, hours away to practice, to get that practice in. I had shoot of the year wasn't, I just wanted to make a shoot off. That was it. That was all I wanted to make a shoot off at ASA, and I'm good. You guys can have it. And it just, yeah, it was a great year. It really was.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I went and did some research on you, Mr. Altizer, going back to 2003 when you started ASA, and this was a good year for you. 5 tournaments, top 10 in all 5. You finished 3rd at Foley, 5th at the Classic in Metropolis, 7th at Benning, 8th at Minden. So all top 10 finishes, that certainly plays into your shooter of the year. But just going back since 2003, 22 years you've been shooting ASA. I found 1 win, semi-pro, 2010. And
Kentucky.
Yeah, in Kentucky, yeah. You had 4, and you shot open pro for a long time, semi-pro for a couple years. But a year like you had this year, all 5 tournaments, all top 10 finishes, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Well, and I think something that's, I don't want people to miss the fact that it's because you went to senior, because that class that you won shooter of the year in senior, that's a stout class.
Yeah.
There's Jeff Hopkins in there, Tony Tazza, Keith Ahlstrom. I mean, it's not a slump class.
No.
Like you didn't roll over shooting the same scores you did last year and just win because it was senior. You had some crazy improvement this year.
Right.
Super successful.
Well, yeah. I mean, we average. I mean, we shoot most of the time. We shoot the same courses as the Open Pro, and yeah. I mean, my scores were better than what they had been in Open Pro, even last year. I switched from a handheld release to a wrist strap last year, and that helped me a bunch. Of course, the indoor range helped me a bunch. Just traveling, shooting with good people. I shoot with Keith Ahlstrom probably twice a weekend or a month. Every other weekend I'll travel, and it's 4 hours. It's not. Once I figured out that I couldn't shoot Lancaster, I kind of gave up on spots, and I was driving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which I'm a rep too, and I got 10 states, 160 dealers. So my phone rings all the time. So if I could plan a trip that I could go visit dealers, and then on a Saturday morning, stop into a local shoot and shoot around somewhere you've never seen, people you don't know, just roll in there and shoot a practice round. And in different conditions, different lighting, I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to arrange this past year because I wanted to go somewhere warm. And that was when the snow hit. And I think it was the same week as Lancaster. And they had 6 inches of snow in Myrtle Beach. And so that didn't, I could have done that here at the house, but yeah, I've got a good bunch of people to practice with, so yeah, it's pretty good.
Was there like a fire lit under you knowing you were coming into senior pro this year, or was there something new that got the juices flowing again? Or
well, and I mean, I pretty much do the same routine every day here at the house. I take my younger boy to school, come back home. I'm usually back home by 8:30. I talk to Darren probably for about 20 minutes, and then I'll go out and shoot. And then I would always pull up. Like if I knew we had an event coming up at Foley, I would go back and watch all the competition archery meetings that from Foley, 2020, all back, and just kind of see what scores it was taken to win it that year, what scores it took the next year. Was everybody wearing hoodies? Was it cold? Was it not cold? Was it, so I tried to prepare for everything I could just by simply watching a lot of the videos on YouTube. I'd come in and, we start working at 9. So I would come in and I'd watch cam media till 9, and then try to just kind of get an idea of what the terrains were going to be like. And it's never the same. It never is. The way you guys are doing it now with Scott Parrott, he's evil. So, he does. I mean, you never know. There'll not be a range there on Monday. And all of a sudden he gets a brand new weed eater that you guys give him and he goes and puts a new range in. So, but I mean, it's tough. It's always different. One day you're shooting in the thick brush. The next day you're out in a field, and he makes you pull the best out of yourself. You know what I mean? It's tough. But,
and that is one thing that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's just having good people in place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You couldn't have picked a better guy to do that. I mean, he can basically cuss you out while smiling at you, and you're gonna just agree and go on. You know what I mean? So he's just a good dude.
How's that like? What is that like? 22 years you've been competing, and in your 22nd year, man, you hit the top shooter of the year. Does it's all worth it?
I never dreamed it.
Yeah,
I didn't think it. And it really wasn't that big a deal the whole time. I just even when the way the numbers got swapped around. I had Tony had a 6-point lead. Tony had a 10-point lead. Jeff was right. You don't want Jeff 20 points behind you. It's just like Levi. I wouldn't want to be 20 points ahead of Levi on the last tournament because he's coming. And it still never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind that I would win it. Not even close. But I came out that first day and I hit. Tony shoots a lot of centers, and I'd shot with him like 3 tournaments this year. And he shoots a lot of center 10s. Plays it really safe. And I had nothing to lose. So Jeff was shooting pin knocks, and Jeff hit me out of a shoot off. I think it was it may have been Benning. I hit his knock on a pin bushing, and so that was in my mind. So my game plan, even practicing at the house, I shoot lowers all the time. Logan shoots uppers, I shoot lowers. And it works out good because we can wear out the targets equally.
Yeah.
So I don't have just a whole drill through the. And Jeff 12, the first target was a boar or something. And I said, "You still shooting pin knocks?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm shooting all uppers rest of the day." And I said, "As long as he shoots a lower, I'm shooting." And boom, 12'd it. And I was like, "Okay." Next one, 12'd it. Next one, 12'd it. And but Jeff was 12 and he was right behind me, And I hit the first 4 out of 5. And the 5th one was super close. Hit the 6th one. And I think Tony had pretty much stayed 10s, maybe a 12 and 10. So he had me by 6 points. Well, all of a sudden I had him by 4. And he is, to me, he was the guy to beat. He's a super awesome guy. Don't know a whole lot about him. Awesome to shoot with. Not a bad word. I probably talk and chatter a little more than I should. He just kind of sits on his stool and gets the job done. And, but Jeff had some bow issues. I think he wasn't firing bad arrows, just had some crazy lefts and rights that showed up, and it worked out. Everybody was, like I said, everybody's super helpful. Everybody gets along good. Just a great class. It really is. And I enjoyed it. My wife, she's a personal trainer, and she has a gym outside, turned our garage into a gym about 6 months ago. And I started doing just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit of that, just to try to be the most healthiest 50-year-old I can be, I guess, so that helped. And she's a good motivator. But it's been good.
I wanted to paint a picture for folks at the end on Saturday, the last couple targets. We were there, and it was, you had even said with a couple to go, you shot a 5 and then an 8. And so it started slipping in. Destiny, who was our scorekeeper, she was keeping track of Shooter of the Year, but she lost track of who was where. And so it was kind of, I came in and everybody's like, did he win? Everybody's asking me, does he have Shooter of the Year? I'm like, I think so. I'm not sure, but there was all the, you talked about the sea of blue, the blue wave. I don't know how many elite jerseys there were around waiting for the official word, did Stephen Altizer win? What was that whole ending like for you?
I didn't, well, with 4 points to go, I had a 14-point lead over Tony. And I shot a 5, he shot a 8. Or I'm sorry, I shot a 5, he shot a 12. That's 7 points.
Yeah.
The next target, I shot a 10, I shot a 8, he shot a 10. And so now we're down to 5 or 6 points, something like that. Then I can remember the next last target was like a 51, 52-yard antelope. And there wasn't a single arrow above the IBO, not a single arrow. And I'm like, this dude, this arrow, this is it. So I put like 51, 52 in the 6 o'clock 10 and caught upper and hit the upper. And that was, then everybody behind's like, yeah. And I turn around and look, and that's the first time that I'd really seen everybody,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh gosh, which I shot with Darren. We got paired to shoot together because he had came, I think, from 6th or 7th all the way up to 3rd.
Yeah.
For shooting. So I guess luckily the best thing happened is we ran out of targets, because the plane was going down and Tony was catching up. Thank God we only shot 20 targets at the day.
What's that like for you then? This year it seemed like it struck me a lot that blue wave, the elite team, man, they're just always around, supportive. I don't see that. I'll just say it. I don't see that with the other companies. I don't see that support like I saw this year from the elite team.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. It's we got you take Darren, you know what I mean? That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
You got Ryan Reed. I mean, we brought him on board last year. What he's done in Kentucky, with just like the London deal, raising the money for that. I mean, nobody asked him to do that. They went, anybody can do it. You know what I mean? And so basically, and I guess, at the end of the day, we're shooting bows and arrows. I'm selling bows and arrows for a living. I'm not going out fighting crime or turning wrenches. And you got to come back and step. If a shooter has a bad day, it's archery. It's a bad day, and you're going to have way more bad days than good days. Or in my experience, and it's about being supportive, man. I don't know. It's good to have the family that we have, people. You can't put a price tag on that. And you give these guys a little bit of help. The program we have is, we changed kind of what we done last year from our pro staff. Archery is changing from the professional perspective. The only way I get paid is if I sell bows. That's that. I mean, as far as on the working side of things. So if my dealers aren't selling bows, then we can't. If your dealers aren't selling bows, then you can't have a pro staff. You can't pay these people to go and just shoot tournaments. And in a world of YouTube, and it's turning, man. It's changing. So we came up with a program that started in Kentucky with the dealers, and if the dealer has someone in mind that they think could help them sell bows, we'll help. The dealer has to pick this guy, and dude, it's worked tremendously. Our sales, the outdoor group sales across the board is just through the roof. It's been really, really good. Now we've went from, at one time we had 23 reps to 13 reps. Then we went to a rep group, and now we're at 6 reps. But these 6 reps have, I've got I probably have more dealers than anybody. I'm sitting, it's kind of like my dad, who was a pastor of a church. He says, he's running about 100, but he's only catching about 70 of them. Everybody's got other things going on. So on paper, I've got 300 dealers across 10 states, and I've got about 170 that are buying. The other 130 can buy,
Yeah.
but and they will buy. I mean, it's new dealers. I got new dealers coming on board every other day. I'm getting a new dealer, and those people are seeing, not necessarily from the target archery side of things, because I mean, target archery is probably 10% of my business. The
Right.
rest of it's hunting.
Yeah.
And I get it. But I'm a target archery guy myself. I love it. Love competing. Love doing it. Love hanging out, meeting people. But everybody wants to be a part of something, and the people that we've brought on board, the dealer advisory staff, you got not just Kentucky, you got guys in Tennessee. If I start naming people, I'll forget somebody, then I'll get a text. So yeah, dealers, I got awesome dealers that are very understanding. They know what I do. I've done this for 10 years. 10 years I've been shooting, well, longer than that. But as far as a rep, trying to juggle the rep life and the professional shooter life, it's a lot. It's a lot. It is especially to be competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good, man. We got a lot of shooters, and our goal for next year is to double that. We're not easing up. We want more. We want to double what we've got. So it's what we're doing is working. It's working on a national level, international level. It's working. It's really good. So we're not taking our foot off the gas anytime soon. We got the Ultra Arrows. That was huge. We brought Levi on board with that. That's been crazy. And it's I know my role. I know where I stand in the archery world. I just, if I can get 10% of that business, we'll be good. But then we brought Waddell on mid-year last year in T-Bone. Those guys came on with Ultra and CBE, and it was a bump in sales, so we've got some pretty heavy hitters that are pushing our brands, and they could shoot whatever they want. They could. Levi could, and Waddell could, and but they chose us, and I promise it's not a financial deal. They had time. They've shot these arrows for a while, and they come back with they like it, so and then at the end of the day, we treat them like people. We treat them like family, and I think a lot of these guys nowadays, it's not necessarily a money issue. It's about how are you going to treat me when I miss that deer? How are you going to treat me when I miss that target? Or I'm leading for shooter of the year and then I blow it on the last couple of shots. And it's life. It's called archery.
Right.
So yeah.
Man, we need about 5 hours to unpack everything that all the little things in there that I want to pull out. But
Yes.
let's go back to something you said. When you play this game of archery, you're going to have more bad days than good days. Correct. Anybody that is a part of this at any level understands that. The difference with Elite and TOG at events, at your trailer, you can't tell when people have had a bad day. It's part of that community. Everybody. It seems like, and you touched on it, whether it was with Levi and the Waddells and your shooting staff, the community. And Elite is crushing it on a community. And a lot of that is the people that are in place, yourself, Darren Christianberry. Yep. And so you started shooting in 2003 competitively? Is that what you pulled up, PJ?
ASA.
How'd you get involved in competitive shooting?
Oh man, my local shop had a guy there. His name was Scott Swinegruber, and he don't even shoot. He just was the guy who was working there at the time. We went up there, and I was shooting the back of the archery range, and he would come back there, and just, one of those guys that, you got guys like, man, you're good. You really you need to go shoot it. Yeah, but don't sell me. But I mean, at that time I was 16. So I went and started shooting good. And I would literally, I got my license and I started traveling to the local events, right, on the weekends. Of course, you shoot good rounds there. What, you're cheating, right? So you had to. Then they stick the president. You're cheating. So then they stick the president. I mean, this went on for so, but it's life lessons. So bringing up Logan, everybody knows Logan, my son. At 12 years old, we would show up to a tournament, and I'd be like, hey, there would be a group of guys over there, and I'd be like, would you mind if my kid shoots with you today? And they're like, well, you're father of the year there. You don't want, but I knew his end goal was my end goal, was to be the best I could be professionally. And me holding him under my wing, I don't know if you call it tough love, but it's the way I done it, whatever, it's right or wrong. And they're like, well, who's going to help him find his arrows? And he wanted to shoot the biggest arrows we had, which was triple X's at that time, with hot pink veins and pink knots. That's what he shot. And I said, I tell you what, I said, you stay within an inch of that arrow today and you'll have a good day. I promise, and he would go out and people would come back and go, God, that. And then, he ended up, I think Fort Benning, he hit 19 out of 20.
Yep.
Youth or young adults, something like that.
Young adults, yeah.
And he just got a gift. He's good. But it's just kind of the way I brought him up. That's kind of how I got started, was just going to local shoots. And I still believe you should support your local club, period. Even if it's, you go out there and it's, every shot's 30 yards and it's, there's an R&D target, or there's such and such target. We're here to shoot Mackenzie's, and still yet you got to go support your local club, period. It's just whatever. You got to have the short ones. I mean, the two 27-yard targets kept me out of the shoot off at Fort Benning because all I practiced was long stuff, Yeah. So you got to have the little ones and you got to have the long ones,
Right.
But yeah, I've just been doing it ever since, man. And it's, it kind of puts it in perspective of we were in Foley this year, and I was talking to Paige. She was walking out, and I said, "Where's Erin? Like McGladry? She's quit. She's not coming back. She's done." And I was like, "No." I said, "It don't work that way." I said, if I could have said I was done 20 years ago, I would have been done. I said, but it's something that archers get in them. You can't lose. You don't lose it. You know what I mean? It's
right.
not like, so boom, next tournament, there she is, and she shows up. She's like, it's just inside of me. And I can't get rid of it, so it does cost her a lot to come from Canada and stuff like that. So definitely she's a huge asset to our team. We're glad to have her.
I was going to say,
as well.
When she came back, she was wearing blue. That's right.
Yep.
You're dropping nuggets in there that I want to unpack, but we don't have time. I mean, one of them being supporting your local clubs, and that's one thing I'll say, just being on social media, that sea of blue. I see it at state shoots, qualifiers, state championships, and it's not just the amateur ranks. It's you, Keith Ahlstrom, Ryan Reed, guys out there shooting at the local shoots. Michael Shore. I mean, yeah, I know I'm missing people, but man, as an organization owner, that's something that I appreciate the heck out of Elite and your team, because that's what's going to grow this thing. The grassroots levels, the clubs, the people that have people to look up to. So I didn't want to just glaze over that fact. You threw that nugget out there, but so you started shooting, and there's a point I want to get to ask a question, but I want to lead into it. So you're shooting competitively, you're selling cars. How long did you work outside of the industry while competing before you went to be a rep?
No, I worked at a Supermax prison for 7 years.
Great story there on how you met your wife too, but that's for another podcast.
That's how we met our wife. That's how I met my wife at prison. Yeah, that's another story. Then I went to play the poker one night and met a guy playing poker, and he was a used car manager. And it come down to me and him were winning. And he's like, "You want to split? Want to split the pot? Or you want to?" I was like, "No, we're not splitting." And he's like, "I need you selling cars. I need you to come sell cars." I said, "I can't sell cars. Never has sold anything in my life, you know." And ended up went and sold cars. I'd done that sold Chevrolets for 10 years, sold Fords for 5, and Eric Griggs at that time was the president of the outdoor group, VP, I guess. And Adam Hayden was a good friend of mine growing up. And Adam called and he says, "Hey," he said, "why don't you come sell bows?" And I was like, "No," I was like, "You can't pay me selling bows what I can make selling cars." You know, luckily I was pretty good at it. And I had a clientele built. I didn't go on a lot. I had some great teachers there, guys who taught me how to sell. And if you mess up selling cars, you don't eat. You know, it's all commission. So, long story short, I came on with TOG.
What year was that?
And it's been 10 years this month.
Okay.
10 years. So 2015,
Right.
2015 or September 2015 will make 10 years. And I mean, man, we've had a lot of changes, a lot of growth. There was actually a year that things we couldn't get product. It was tough. I can remember 4th of July, all we had to sell was winter choice, string wax, and quick shot releases. And that's how you made your living. I mean, that's what you had to depend, and we brought Tommy Gomez on board. Tommy, he's used to shoot professionally. Mm-hmm. And we got Josh Sidebottom. He's running things, and boom. I mean, all of a sudden it went from now we're, just about anything we have right now, the lead time's 10 days. And they do a fantastic job running that factory. And it's all different types of personalities. You gotta have the firm guy, and you gotta have the guy who holds hands and kisses babies. And I guess that's kind of what me and Darren do. Darren, I can eat the watermelon and Darren spit out the seeds. So we're pretty much on the same page, So we'll talk every morning, and what do you think about so and so? What do you think about so and so? What do you think about what should I do about this? And I got it down. He fights these moles in his yard all the time, shooting them with a shotgun, and he just like, sometimes I just have to say, "Look, dude, we got it pretty good. We got it pretty good." So, and he has to talk me off the ledge too. There's times I get aggravated. It's life, and at the end of the day, it's archery. We're selling bows and arrows for a living. Come on, this is not a bad gig.
Yeah.
So you can speak to us. I mean, Darren has told the story many times of when he was losing it shooting right-handed, that he almost quit, went back to being an electrician, I think it was.
Yep.
Think about what that would have been like if Darren Christianberry hadn't been there these last couple years. I mean, that team.
I know it. Yeah, he's good, man. He takes it. This is the worst time of the year for him because it's he's having to make some tough decisions on cutting certain people, and then you got everybody beating the door down wanting to come over, and you can only and I respect him because he says, "I got to take care of the boys in blue first. That's my number one goal. I got to make sure all my boys in blue get taken care of." And you got people that's coming over from other brands that, it's just, come on, there's some we'll make room for, but it is what it is. Everybody sees what we're doing and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Darren takes it personal. He builds relationships with every one of his shooters. And if he has to make a hard decision, I promise. I mean, I hear about them, but we do what we can. We do what we can, and you can't save everybody. So,
well, and
but yeah,
Darren builds those relationships with everybody.
100%. It don't matter what colors of jersey you have on.
He's one of the first there.
Yes.
He's one of the first there to congratulate anybody. And that what PJ brought up about Darren and wanting to leave, and the big lead in I had to your background. One of the things that I see at shoots, whether it's an ASA, an indoor shoot, anywhere that your booth is present, you've been involved a long time in competitive archery. You've worked in the industry the last 10 years, and you don't hate the industry or the people. That's an anomaly. I mean, like it or not, I listen to podcasts, I listen to people talk, I spend a lot of time around manufacturers and shooters. What's the secret ingredient that Stephen Altizer, Darren Christianberry, Nathan Brooks, the entire TOG team has that you continue to love this game when it consumes all of your life? You don't only shoot it, you work in it.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's are we crazy? It's what I sit back and look at it. I'm like, that's what I was talking to Paige when we was coming off the range. I said, if 20 years ago, I've been doing this, 20 years ago, if I'd have just quit shooting archery and started working another job that had a retirement, shit, I'd be getting ready to retire right now. What would I? But think of all the fun we'd have missed. You know what I mean? So we're not going around this place at once. So sometimes we have a little fun, and sometimes it's time to work. And sometimes you march, and sometimes you fight. That's Tommy Gomez's slogan. So if you love it, that's it. You got to love it, man. It's I've had Levi, Chance, those guys. I've reached out to them, in the past years of what do I need to do to get better. What do I got to do? There's certain people have natural ability, and some people don't. I think I have some of it, but hard work. You just got to work at it. You got to love it. There's a time you got to pump the brakes. Last week, this past week, me and my wife had been married 20 years, almost 20 years. And then I turned 50. And when I turned 50, I was at a Total Archery Challenge tournament event, that I had dedicated to do that. And then the next one was a Total Archery Challenge that was my anniversary and of 19 years. But I worked, there's sacrifices. So this past week, we went to Florida, which is one of my states, and went and seen some dealers down there. We hung out on the beach some, and it was just me and her. We had a good time, sometimes you gotta, but I came back ready to go. I'm ready to sell some stuff, ready to call a lot of these people back who've reached out to me saying, we're a great year, congratulations. And I haven't got to reach out to those guys. It's been stupid. It's, 1,000 people that I never knew that really were my friends, but they all, congratulations, so I got a lot of work to do, a lot of catching up to do. And then you got hunting seasons getting ready to come up. So it's, then get ready for Lancaster, that's want to go do that.
It definitely consumes life. And I'll say that you and Darren are two of the most approachable guys in archery. And I have mad respect for the love that you guys have, because I have days where I go see PJ and man, I'd go invest in a dart league or something. I mean, just like, I got to get out of here. But you two, I've never heard that. And I've spent a lot of time with the two of you guys, whether it be at a shoot, at a hunting camp, out to dinner after an event, and they just don't complain. And it is something that I think is commendable. It needed called out in this podcast. Say kudos to you guys. Keep up the great work. And if I could learn something on how to have that it's just archery. That's what I'm hearing. It's just archery.
Just archery.
We're blessed to do it. And so great stuff there. And
I was going to ask you for personal advice on those. You mentioned your anniversary and your birthday, because I miss my wife's birthday every year. It's during the ASA Classic.
Yeah,
she never lets me forget.
Hers is on Halloween. So I can't forget that. So, but that's pre-rut too. So I like to I like to be doing other things. So
Well,
but yeah, it's good.
he did mention a key to success there, because you noticed he talked about building his archery range.
Yeah.
But then later, when he was talking about getting fit, he had said about 6 months before that he had put a gym in the garage. So he had his priorities right there first.
I did pay attention to that.
Yep. My garage was we'll call it my shop, where I had all my stuff and my bows and stuff. And then my wife came home one day and she's like, I think I'm going to start my own gym. She was working at another gym. And she said, I think I'm going to start my own gym. She liked to do more one-on-one with the women, and they wanted just to do things different where she was. And I said, screw it. I said, just do it out here in the garage. Do it out here, and we'll make a gym out of this garage. Well, she took me serious, and it was like a week later, you can't find a place to park in the driveway, and these girls are showing up, and so I had to move all my archery stuff out of my garage into my archery range, which was just basically a lane to shoot. So it's I wished I'd have built it bigger now, but yeah, that everything's going good, man. Life's good, work's good. Shooter of the year, I'll take that. It's just a bonus, so we're all healthy. So it's
Logan
good.
had a pretty good year too. He finished
Logan
strong.
had a good year.
Yeah.
Yep. He, at the IBO, he was first man out to make the shoot the third day.
Yeah.
So he ended up, I think it was 7th place or eighth place, maybe 7th. Anyway, he was the first man out. Shoots good. Shoots a lot. The spots. I mean, around, and that's, if it wasn't for, he's my competition. We'll go out in the backyard, and I mean, it ain't pretty. We don't get along well together. Sometimes we do, but he don't like to lose, and I get it. But yeah, he's been that way since football. Since little, he don't like to lose.
Well, it's funny you mentioned about having it in you and just not being able to get away from archery. He kind of faded out a little bit a year or two ago. Kind of didn't come to, and then I noticed, boom, there he is. Now he's back at every one, and
yep. He's got a good, different job now, and the people love him there, and they let him kind of come and go as he pleases, and but he bends, he does everything. It's give and take. If you find a good employer, that's what I told him. It's not in the archery industry. That's what he wanted to do, and the archery industry isn't for everyone. Doesn't make you a bad person. Not everybody's a salesperson, not everybody's a mechanic, not everybody, if everybody was reps, then I wouldn't have a job, because I'm sure there's people who do it better than me. But he just a little growing up, he's doing fantastic. He's shooting his bow. He enjoys shooting his bow more now than what he did before. And I think it's different when you want to do it, feeling like versus like if you have to do it. And like, I don't even know what percentage of professional archers just shoot their bow anymore, but that would scare me to death. It really, there's no way that I would want to do that, because the pressure would just be so, I got to hit this to draw a check, or to, Levi has other jobs. Jeff farms, Tony works at a shop. I don't know. This whole archery industry is changing, man. It's not like it used to be. Those big contracts aren't out there anymore, and if they are, they're fading quickly. And so we luckily have taken that same money and just ask our dealers, what do you want? What do you want, Mr. Dealer? Who do you think, if we was to give somebody some help on a bow or a discount, that could bring you 5 bow sales into your shop? Who do you got in mind? And the dealer points us in these directions, and it's worked out. I had a dealer this past year, that went from 9 bows last year to 200 this year.
Well,
and so that's ROI. And our CEO, Anthony Steele, he's not an archer, he's not a hunter, he's a numbers guy. Yeah. He looks at ROI. So when we're paying, and when Darren and I are going to these events, what'd you sell? What'd you come back with? Did we open any new dealers? Did we sell anything while we were there? If we got some ROI to show him, hey, it was beneficial for us to be there, then we're going back and we're going to go bigger and we're going to go better. We're going to make it harder. We're going to, we want, like I said, we got big plans for 2026. So we're trying to get
shifting just a little bit. Just that reminded me, because you were one of the ones. Elite and TOG had gone away from the ATA show, or were thinking about dropping it. But then this past year, you guys went back, and I remember you saying you thought that was a great thing to do. A lot the ATA show, that it's kind of, some people were leaving, folks were wondering if it was going to stick around. You guys went and hit it hard, and you were one of the ones who said, yeah, man, that was a good thing for us.
Yep. So we done this past year. The last time we done it, it cost so much, and it was the other manufacturers will tell you this. Like our booth was literally 10 feet inside the door, and for them to put a forklift under our crate and move it 10 feet was like $800. So it wasn't anything to do with ATA. ATA was awesome.
Yeah.
That was great. But it was like the convention center that they would gouge you so much. And we quit it. Matthews quit, Hoyt quit, everybody, we all talk, we're not, we're all friends. We know what goes on and what time it is. But so we took a break from it for probably 4 or 5 years. So this last year, I begged and begged to go, and they finally, okay, we're going to let 3 reps go. And I said, all I need is a table, a laptop, and some business cards. And we had some. We ended up. I don't want to say a dollar amount, but it was very, very minimal of what we put into it. And it was crazy. It was crazy. So this year, we're doing it, and we're taking the trailer, and because they're having an archery tournament there too.
Yeah.
And we're going to have our trailer set up at the ATA show inside, with and the reps will be there writing orders. So that'll be something new too. You'll actually have the trailer place to shoot your bows right there with the trailer, and then we'll have the dealers there doing their programs for next year.
Are you saying that you're seeing the shift in competition archery? Are you, as you're on both sides. You sell hunting bows, but you're a target archer. Are you concerned about the future of competitive target archery? Do you see concern there, or do you see it shifting?
I don't really know like the numbers, and you guys would probably know that more. I don't know how many archers we had 10 years ago. If are we that far off? As far as concerned, when I started 10 years ago, I would say target archery was probably 10% of my business. Now I'd say it's probably not 5%. Now, is that because people are buying more stuff online? I guarantee you all 3 of us have brown spots in our front yard for the UPS or FedEx truck turns and drops. Is it turning more, online sales?
Right.
Is that the reason I'm not seeing it? Or that's probably a conversation for a totally different podcast, I guess. But you could go deep with that. The archery industry is changing. There was an event this past weekend that was about an hour from my house that was called like a R100. You shot 100 Reinhardt targets, and I would have never. They had 300 plus shooters at that thing, and then I don't know where that came from. So maybe we're planning on. We're going to go harder this year than we did last year, and we just got to try to find where it goes. We want to do what we've got to do to help archery grow. Period.
Right.
I didn't know if you were seeing if you were seeing decreased interest on your end of target archery in the people you talk to and all that, or.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that helped target archery in our area was being able to use your rangefinders. That to me was a bump. that, because I've seen it declining big, a lot back then.
Yeah.
Then it was now you can use a rangefinder, boom, like those people come back, and that's a double-edged sword. I mean, people use that as a crutch. Well, I work 40 hours a week. Well, guess what? We were all working 40 hours a week 20 years ago, so that's an excuse, So yeah, that's just a crutch, is all that is. But it's. I say that I didn't think we were going to do as well with the Victra that we done, but my goodness, that target bow that we just launched, the Victra at the Classic, we sold double of those as what we thought we would sell as forecasted.
Yeah.
Me and Tommy talked about that before we launched, and he's like, "How many more do you think you'll sell?" And I'm like, "Maybe 50 after we launch." And I think we done something. It was triple, 4 times that. It was a lot.
Yeah.
But it worked out. It worked out great. I mean, it's in the momentum, is going to keep rolling.
Well, so I happen to know a guy who could put a hat on and give some numbers. But so speaking from ASA 20, and I did this 2 months ago, so the numbers are rough. I've always wanted to say this. I could put the numbers in the show notes. Never use the show notes for anything, but that seems to be a podcast thing. In 2003, because I always heard, well, back in the late 90s, the early 2000s, remember thousands of people showing up at these shoots, and now they're just kind of. So I went back, and you can do this. It's on ASA Archery's website, so you go and you look at past scores, and I think online it goes back to 2003, but the numbers have grown. We had more people this year than we did at Pro-Ams in 2003. Now, you might have had 500 people in your class because there were only 4 classes before we put in all these other classes, so it might have felt like a bigger deal from there. But, I mean, I looked specifically at pro classes in 2003. There were like 17 in women's pro. That's about what they average now. Open pro had gone up about 20 from 2003 to 2025, or 2024 was what I pulled the numbers off of. And I did first event, so I was comparing apples to apples. And then you added all the known. So the numbers are there. I would say from 2003 till now, it's probably about a 17% increase is what I found. But I think one of the things that, we were very optimistic and encouraged and happy with our turnout this year at ASAs at the Pro-Am level, especially given the landscape of professional archery. But where I was most encouraged was club participation. Clubs were up, state qualifiers are up, state championships are up. And in the grand scope of things, I think archery has always been top down. Everybody's always focused on the big events, which are great. They're fun. They bring a lot of eyeballs to the industry. But if you look at all the other sports, man, accessibility in the amateur ranks are way bigger than the pro levels. Not necessarily in dollar amount, but there's a lot more kids playing Little League Baseball than there are playing in the MLB. A lot more people play golf than play in the PGA. And so to see those local and state shoots increasing, more clubs getting interested, I think you're right. The landscape is changing. You've alluded to it in your sales and how TOG's doing it with shops and local guys. And I think as an organization owner, I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm super encouraged that change is happening. It needed to happen. It wasn't sustainable the way it was running. We all know that. And there's definitely things we can do. The community is a big piece. That's why I love, and I've talked about it with TOG and you guys, I love what you guys bring as that element of community. But I just had to throw that, sorry, got on a soapbox there, but I don't want it. There's a lot of doom and gloom and negativity around competition archery. And it's just not the case. I mean, if we're getting the same people showing up at a national shoot, same number of people, a few more, but we've got several hundred more showing up at state levels, and those people are visiting their local bow shops and they're shooting in the local shoots, like it's good. We need to grow the grassroots level.
Well, a lot of the clubs that I've been driving to, and like some of these are 3 or 4 hours away, they've started doing a you shoot just on Saturday 20 targets and you shoot a 5 target shoot off. And there are people showing up for that, and they're doing it from even like the kids class. If there's 5 kids in it, you're going to have a shoot off. If there's bow hunters in it, you're going to have a shoot off. And you're not winning no more money but it's just the fact of their end goal was like Logan's end goal. When he was that age, I want to be out there in that shoot off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take that for granted, you know. I mean, and that's what I try. You know, I made 3 shoot offs this year, and man, I mean, that's just, you know, it was, you don't want to, but that has brought these clubs. There's people coming out just so they can say, "Hey, I made the shoot off."
Yeah.
Well, there was only 5 of you in the class, and you made the shoot off, you know. But that has brought a lot of more people out that I've seen on our local level, just to get a chance to make that shoot off, because they watch this stuff and then they go forward, and that's their goal. That's my end goal is, yeah, I might be shooting fixed pins or a Genesis bow right now, but I eventually want to be out there in that shoot off. And that gives them a dream and a goal and a hope, and that one day they can do that.
What was that like for you going out there at Foley? Because it had been, I didn't see if you had shoot-offs.
No, I never made a shoot-off.
Never no shoot-off. So what's that like?
Well. Now we done it semi-pro. We used to do it semi-pro.
Okay.
And I swear, I think it was weird. It was only like a 3-target shoot-off at that time. It was something like that. But yeah, I mean,
so what's that like?
That's my goal.
You walk out there at Foley, your first one.
Every one of them. So I've choked at every one of them. So I'd like to do one and not choke. You know, that'd be the second tournament. I knocked my arrow upside down on the first arrow, and Ryan or somebody came to me, Kyle, or like, you know what you done on that first target? I was like, I don't have a clue, because I shot it for exactly what I asked Keith when we got done. He shot it for the same thing I did, and I shot it 2 foot low. And I'm not married. Somebody had taken a picture of me at full draw, and my vein was sitting down on my blade. And anyway, I mean, that's my goal for next year, would be to win one. Not really focused on shooter. I just like to win an event. And I guess, you know, I can remember, like, even growing up practicing with you know, Levi or Chance, and their mindset was just totally different. If they knew that, like in Texas, that it was going to be windy, so they would go ahead and shoot smaller diameter arrows, because in their mind they were going to be in the shoot off. That wasn't even the question, you know. And it just took me a long time to change my mindset of, rather than what am I going to do to screw this up, of you know, I'm going to be there, and it's going to be different the next time, you know. And so, you know, like I said, I've had a lot of good friends that have talked me through and then helped me to get to where, you know, to where I'm at. Hey, do this. And, you know, I guess it was Tommy I talked to, and it was one day I was coming home, and he said, you know what you got to do that you don't? And I said, what? He said, believe in yourself. He said, if you believe in yourself, then ain't nobody going to beat you, you know. And this was right after Illinois, I think. And he said, that's the problem. He said, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to beat you, you know. So just, you know, little things when you're sitting there, and, you know, you've got this guy beat with 3 targets to go by 14 points, and then all of a sudden you're within 4. You know, you're just like, I just want to throw up somewhere, you know. So, but yeah, those people come into your mind, and I try to go back to each and every one of them and thank them after it was over with, you know.
Yeah. Man.
So who has been the most influential in your archery career? You've mentioned several names, but
probably Darren. Probably Darren, because, you know, I've seen in a short span of what he went through, you know. I mean, he had both of his knees replaced, and, you know, he was struggle about, you know, man, I got to get my knees replaced. I got to get this fixed, my arm fixed. And, you know, I can remember he was like going in, he was like a week before he was getting his knee replaced, I would send him a video every day of them doing a knee replacement with a hammer, and just like all the pain this guy was in on YouTube, and I would send it to him every day. And he finally, he's like, don't send me that no more. But because me and him have struggled, we've struggled, you know, together. And I know if you ask Levi, he struggled, but he's not, you know, whatever.
His struggle's different than everybody else's.
His struggle's different. Yeah. His struggle's different. And, yeah, it's, but if I had to put my finger on one, it'd be Darren, you know. He's helped me a bunch. And, so yeah, that's, if I had to pick somebody, that'd be my guy.
You mentioned Levi, and I found that interesting this year. I was there on his last target to win Shooter of the Year. He hadn't won it in 5 years. You know, he had 12 in a row, 13 total, hadn't won one in 5 years. And I watched him, and I could tell he was nervous. Last target, all he needed to do was 10 it. He was nervous. And afterwards, you know, I shot a video of it, and I was like, dude, that may be the worst shot I've ever seen you take. And he said, that's as nervous as I've ever been firing an arrow. And I just thought that was cool that, you know, here's somebody who's won everything. It still meant that much to him to do that. You know, it wasn't just going through the motions.
Yeah, and I don't know if, like, I mean, which I'll never be at that level, but I don't know if it's as much as if it was a hard shot. But, you know, there's other stuff goes on in his head. You know, there's people are expecting it after you win it a couple of times, and not just you're expecting it, but your sponsors are expecting it. And you know, I mean, I've seen Levi come off. I seen it at it may have been at the Classic. He came off maybe 5th place, something like that. But the line started. When the event was over, the line started at Levi to get an autograph. They wasn't trying to get nobody else's autographs. You know, and in his mind, he had failed. But Levi, give me your autograph, and he always stops. He always does it. And it was just, you know, they came over to the house that night, and we were talking about that. And man, I choked. You know, I choked in the shoot off. I was like, dude. I did too. Darren misset his sight by 5 yards in the shoot off and still shot it for more than what I shot it for. You know, so it was just I didn't see it. I didn't see it. You know, and Levi came over to the house that night. We were talking, and he said, "Man, I choked." I said, "Dude," I said, "You know how many kids were lined up? You know, you can't put a price tag on that."
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Well, that was all I got, Josh. You got anything else?
Well, I could talk to this guy.
I mean, we could be here all day for sure.
We've got to get him back on because there's definitely more there I want to unpack. But
yeah,
absolutely.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's what y'all are doing is, you know, a lot of people don't see what you guys do behind the scenes, and you know, we're there at those events getting set up at daylight and closing down at dark, and I can see you and Kyle on the golf cart riding around and getting the cameras out, and it's just it was kind of like if you had a camera crew to follow what the camera crew does, you know, and you're rolling the dice on who's going to shoot good that weekend. You're trying to get footage of this guy, that guy, of a no-name guy. Is this guy, is he going to come out the top? You know, we need to get some footage of him, and Kyle's always great about doing that, you know, so thank you guys.
Props for Kyle. There you go. Yeah,
he's sitting in the corner giving us a thumbs up.
Puts the thumb up.
Well, Stephen, we appreciate the heck out of you guys and everybody at TOG and all that you're doing for the sport, and what you've done personally is commendable. So congratulations on a great year, and we do look forward to what you're going to do in the coming years for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
All right, folks, that is another episode of the Competition Archery Media Podcast. You can find it on all the platforms where you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks for joining us today.